Shalom and good day all, this is Tehillim29, back again for another Fool's Gold review for the Future State. But this time we've got something for the Delayed Titles Guild in Future State. And yes, I'm calling it the Delayed Titles Guild for a reason. Well, these titles were delayed at my store, so it's only fair that these titles also get reviewed. So, to start off on how Fool's Gold works, the rating is I do rate the cover, the art and the story, and how much I think they're all worth. The currency conversion here has to do with how much the comic costs me, but in regards to how much I think it's worth is how much I think the story, the art, and the cover are all worth. Not the total that I paid for it. So, time to get started on Nightwing. So, moving into the title of Nightwing. As you can see, this one's $3.99, and in currency conversion, it is around $7.15 in Australian dollars. So, it's time to work on the cover rating. Does the cover match the story? Well, surprisingly, it does, and I was really surprised with what Constant did here in regards to, thinking wisely what to do with the regular cover, and I do think it worked with the story. To which I gave the cover rating 7 out of 10. Time to move into the internal art. Now, this is some art at the beginning of the story. I'll now move to some art to the middle of the story. As you can see, the artist is actually pretty consistent in what they're doing here, and I do enjoy that. Now to some art towards the end of the story. I must admit, I really enjoyed what the artist did with these panels, and also did with Dick Grayson, and it really helped with the story. To which I gave the art 7 out of 10. To which both the art and the cover art are worth $1.50 to me. Now to the story itself. Some really good things about this story is the storyteller's time in pointing out locations as to where things are taking place in Gotham. In it, we got a main place in Gotham. We also got the Magistrate's HQ in Gotham, which I found was really interesting. It was really good. As well as Arkham Asylum, which was a little bit in ruins. The cast being made up of Nightwing, Dick Grayson, the Cybers, and also Tim Jason Fox, Iron Knight, I'm going to call him, but not Batman. In this story, you see Dick Grayson actually stop some people from Cybers, but he's also shown to being good at reading body language, and I really enjoyed that because in it he ended up encountering some augmented villains that also work alongside with the Magistrate. So they're sort of like a special force, and it has definitely given us, the reader, a little bit more as to how the Magistrate works in relation to what's happening in Gotham. We move into the Magistrate headquarters in Gotham, to which we encounter Peacekeeper 01, to who we still don't know who it is, but we don't even know if he's actually running the show or not. But we do know that he does get orders from the magistrate, and including informing one of the peacekeepers that they got a promotion, to which they have ranked up from whatever they were before to Peacekeeper 06. And then as we move into Arkham, or the ruins of Arkham Asylum, we see Dick Grayson take his time to basically recuperate after his night out, as Nightwing, of course. He does sort of believe that maybe Batman could actually be dead, but no actual proof has been shown yet for him to believe. We do see an indication that he is in communication with some members possibly connected to the Teen Titans, maybe other areas in Future State, but it's not clear who every one of them is. And then we've got his encounter with Tim Fox. If it's one thing about Dick Grayson's character, which this writer has also captured, is how Dick Grayson is sort of like... how Dick Grayson is easygoing with sort of like working alongside with Tim Jason Fox, who I'm going to say is Iron Knight. He should not be called Batman. Iron Knight would work fine, but not Batman. To which I gave this story an 8 out of 10. To which I believe the story was worth $1.75. The overall total for this story is $4.75. Time to move on to the Green Lantern. Well, as I now move on to covering the Green Lanterns, we can see that this one in currency conversion is worth $10.75 Australian. Now let's see how it goes with my rating system. For the cover, did the cover in a way sort of help with the story? Surprisingly, it sort of did, but if anything, I just liked the cover on its own. To which I gave the cover 7 out of 10, to which I believe it was worth $7.50. Now moving into the internal art for the first story. Now for this, I'm going to show you some art at the beginning of the story and probably the mid of the story, not so much the end. And as you can see here, it's quite alright, but this story feels sort of like self-insert Geoffrey Thorne in the place of who is John Stewart. I'm sorry, but that's how the story sort of comes across in the art. And I will point out one thing. It's a good thing that it's a one-off story. But it doesn't mean the story is going to get high rating. Alright, time to move to the mid part of the story. This is the story midway through of some of the things that happen in it. And through it, I gave the art 6 out of 10. I'll now move on to what I thought of the story. Now, did this story give us any indication of where the hell this is taking place? Fuck no, it didn't at all, and I'm highly disappointed. I mean it, I am highly disappointed. How can you have a story and not tell us where this is actually taking place in the DC universe? Yeah. Alright, I got the idea of like who some of the species were in this, but not the actual planet or location. where the fuck are we? Right? You've got bloody wonderful art here, wonderful cover art here, but the story's already hitting the lows, like the lows. Okay, what about the cast? Did we at least get a fair idea who the cast was? Surprisingly, we did, but did it actually help the rating? Not really. Not really at all. So who was in the cast? Jon Stewart, Kilowog, and of course the Vanguard. This felt like a fake revolution plus helping people escape some form of tyranny that they were going through. To which I gave this story, sad to say, a 2 out of 10. Alright, the idea is there, but it's not very strong. Its potential is very low. Time to move on to the second story. As we move on to the second story, this is some of the art within the second story, and I actually enjoyed the art in this story. And also enjoyed who wrote this story. So this is some art at the beginning of it, and we already get a fair idea who some of the cast of characters are. And I really enjoyed that. So we've got the Sinestro Corp with us, as well as Jessica Cruz. I'll now move to another piece of art in the story. As you can see, it's actually quite consistent. To which I both gave the art, I gave the art 7 out of 10, to which I believe it makes it worth $1.50. Now for the story, we immediately got location at the beginning of the story, and I really enjoyed that. So thank you very much to the writer who worked on this story. I appreciate that, because it tells me that this character isn't lost in the middle of fucking nowhere. You don't know where the fuck they are. We've got story here. And as you learn in the story, we're in sector 0123. The cast of characters is basically made up of Jessica Cruz and also the Sinestro Corps. And I really enjoyed that. This story also, in a way, sort of felt like, what if DC Comics reimagined Ridley's, I think it's Ridley's, Alien, as to what was happening with Jessica Cruz's character as she was taking on some aliens. And it really worked with the character, and I really enjoyed what it did with the character. So, time to move on to the third story. Oh, before I do, I gave this story rating 7 out of 10, to which I believe it was worth $1.50. Overall total, $3. And also $3 for the last story. Moving on to the last story. As we move into the third story, this story takes place in sector 0345 at the planet Berlin, which sort of reminds me a little bit like Berlin. And I think that was really clever with what the writer did here, Ernie Altbacker. So, before we move into the story, let's cover some of the art. Now, this is some of the art at the beginning. And this is some of the art towards the end. Now, that alongside with the story, the art was actually really nice in this. And I also enjoyed the story that came with it. For the art, I gave it 7 out of 10, to which I believe it was worth $1.50. And for the story, as it takes place on the planet Ruralin, we have Guy Gardner, of course, who makes his appearance. And as he turns up on the scene, he learns that there's a bit of a kerfuffle between basically North and South over something that landed in their lines. And he goes out of his way to actually try to make peace between them, like doing what a Green Lantern should, like stopping war, whatever else. I really enjoyed what was done here. So as you can see in this scene, he also introduces foosball, which I thought was really clever. It shows some of his intellect, and I definitely want to read another issue of this. To which I gave the story a 7 out of 10. Well, until now that this is finished, I want to thank you all for watching this video. Until then, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell if you enjoy the content. And until then, let's keep it colourful. If you've now made it to the end of the video, you are awesome.